Hello, this is Yasu, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I didn't really know what to talk about, so I sat down and I started brainstorming some stories and stuff that I usually have only talked to my husband about and only very close personal friends know about. And really, like, I have really, really bad memory. So a lot of like I can't think of things like right off the bat. I have to be like sitting down in a car or something, and I'd be like, oh, did I ever tell you about blank? Like I can't just like come up with like these memories and stories and stuff of like things on my own. And when I'm at home recording this, I'm usually on my own. Like I don't have anybody near me. So I can't really bounce off ideas. But I do bounce off ideas with my husband every now and then. And I feel like I need to sit down with him and write down like all the stories that I tell him, because I have a lot of stories. I just can never think of them when I'm about to record. So anyways, today I'm going to be talking about a story that happened to me in middle school. And I think most of my art related stories come from middle school, not so much high school. I mean, there are some things in high school that I can talk about, like my art class and stuff like that. But for the most part, like the stuff I can remember right now are the things that I remember from middle school. And middle school was a very hard time for me. In elementary school, like a year prior or 2 years prior to entering middle school, so let's say fifth and sixth grade, I moved from Venezuela to Florida, and I barely knew any English. Like, I knew some English because I had watched a lot of English cartoons and television back when I lived in Venezuela. So I understood some English, but I couldn't hold a conversation. So I was put in ESL, I think it's called. And that's where I basically pushed myself to learn English. Like, I needed to learn English. I needed to be able to communicate. I needed to be able to make friends. And it's very hard when you're like 9 years old and like you left behind all your friends suddenly to move permanently to a place that you're foreign to. You don't know anybody. You don't know the language. You're just an outcast. And there were other students who spoke Spanish, but they didn't really have the same I guess they didn't really like the same stuff I did. Like, a lot of them were more into sports. Some of them were into like comic book superheroes and stuff like that, whereas I was more interested in Pokemon and Sailor Moon and basically anime. And it was very hard for me to make friends in elementary school because of that. And that was the first time in my life that I ever faced anything like that, because before, like, I lived in so many Spanish speaking countries, so I was okay with making new friends every time we moved. But now that I'm learning English, like, oh my god, I have nobody. And when that happened, I turned to drawing as my coping mechanism, because I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't really have any friends. So I drew a lot. And that's like, I guess, like in the end of elementary school. The only time, like maybe sixth grade, I started, getting more used to speaking English. I started to communicate a little bit better. I studied my butt off to learn English so that I can get out of ESL, because I felt like an outsider being in ESL. And it sucks because you're a little kid and you just want to run around and have fun with other people, but it just, you can't, because you don't understand what they're saying and they don't understand what you're trying to say. So anyways, yes, and language barrier. So I started drawing in elementary school a lot more than I did back when I lived in Venezuela, because that was a way for people to recognize me, and a way for me to not necessarily communicate, because I didn't really use it as a communication method, but it did gain people's like interest in me, I guess. So I was known as like the foreign kid who can draw, and I was fine with that. That was fun, because a lot of times when we had an assignment where we had to draw something, people would always be excited to see what I would come up with. And there were some other artsy kids in the classroom too, like I wasn't the only one, but I liked having the attention, because it was almost like I had friends, but I didn't. It was just classmates who were amazed that I could draw like a friggin' animal or something. But when I started learning more English, that's when I worked up the courage to start talking to a few people. And I remember one girl, her family is her family was Canadian or something, but she was half Japanese, and all of her school supplies were like Chrono Trigger and like Dragon Ball Z, and her school supplies were very anime, like they had like little anime merchandises and stuff like that. So like I immediately ran to her and I was like, oh my god, you like anime, and like I kind of became friends with her. We weren't very super close friends, but we did like hit it off. And unfortunately she moved away when I went to middle school, or we went to separate middle schools, I think it was. So I didn't really get to see her in middle school, so I was back to being alone. I had one friend who was a neighbor of mine, and she was so patient with me. Like I didn't know much English, so like whenever we hung out, it was a lot of like very simple English with me, but she was more of the kind of person who used like big words and stuff like that. Like I understood her for the most part, but I wouldn't use the same words with her. So it was kind of I don't know how to explain it. Like we were friends, and we were friends for a very long time, actually, all throughout middle school. But she didn't draw as much. I don't think she was as interested in drawing, but she did like writing, which I thought was great, because like I could read her stuff and keep studying my English and all that. But when I was in middle school, I didn't really like, she was the only friend I had going into middle school. And then slowly, I think it was until maybe my second or third year in, I met one of my best friends, Sarah, because she saw one of my drawings, and it was a fan art drawing of Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. Now, during middle school, like all 4 years of middle school, I drew a lot. Like I think of all the years collectively, I think during middle school I drew the most. I had a cabinet, like a drawer. What is that called? Yeah, I guess a wardrobe drawer thing. And the last drawer was completely like 100% full of just papers, and every single paper in that drawer had a drawing in it. I drew on every single paper that was in that drawer, and I continued drawing. And that was my passion when I was in middle school. I just wanted to get better at it. I just wanted to keep drawing. I just wanted to keep, creating characters or creating fan art and stuff like that. And this has all since been lost. Like I don't know where they are. They're probably recycled or burned or whatever. They have been tossed long ago, because my mom, when I was in middle school, my grades started dropping, and because of that, my mom realized that the only interest I had was drawing. I didn't want to pursue anything else. I had no intentions of getting better in science or math or English or anything like that. I just wanted to draw, because it was what made me happy, and it was what gave me the courage and confidence to talk to people and, have them talk to me, and, like, I would get attention from that. But unfortunately, because of that, my grades dropped drastically. I was doing super bad in school, whereas before I would get maybe, I didn't really get straight A's, but I did get, A's and B's, or passing grades in elementary school. In middle school, my grades started dropping, and it was because I had no interest. I just didn't want to do anything other than draw, and that was my fault. And my mom threw away all of my drawings. Every single drawing that was in that drawer has been lost. I can't like pull out an old drawing and redraw it anymore because I just don't have it with me. I think the only pieces that are living are the ones that a old middle school friend of mine had, and she posted them on Facebook, and I almost cried because I thought I would never see my old drawings again, and there they were, crappy, like lacking any sort of anatomy skill or anything, and I loved it. I loved seeing that. And like, I don't resent my mom for throwing out all of my drawings. To be fair, it was a crap ton of drawings, and I was being kind of a crappy kid because I didn't want to get better grades. I didn't feel the need to get better grades. Like, I just felt like there was no point of going to school. And honestly, it didn't get any better. I was terrible all throughout middle school, and then I was terrible all throughout high school. And I don't know. I wish I could go back and sit down with younger me and ask her why she's doing all this and what would make me happy. Like, if going to an art like focused school would have made me happier or something. I don't know. We weren't financially, like, we weren't poor, but we weren't exactly doing well. So it's not like my mom could have sent me to like a private school or something like that focused more on the arts. I had to go to public school. And if you're from Orlando, you know that the public schools down there kind of aren't that great. I mean, it's whatever you make out of it, right? Like, I think if you make your own experience, better, then the school doesn't seem as bad. I don't know. I seem to be rambling a lot in this video, but it's because it's such a strong subject. Middle school was just that's when everything got better, and that's where everything got worse. I made friends. I made a lot of friends in middle school, but I also had a lot of bullies in middle school. And that's when I started being told like what to do. Like, that's when I started being told like I can't be an artist. Like, I have to think of something else. Like, think realistically, Carolina. You're not gonna make it as an artist. Like, you better just give up now. Like, what else do you like? Do you like chemistry? Maybe you should be a chemist. Like, do you like biology? Maybe you should be a biologist or a veterinarian or something. You like animals? Why don't you just become a veterinarian? Do something that makes money. And that was a very hard time for me because I was in middle school. All I could think of is like, well, shit, like I'm nothing unless I make money. And that was such a really crappy thing to do to a kid. I'm not trying to call out like all the adults and my parents and stuff that told me that. I'm just kind of reflecting back in, on how I grew up and how I came to be this person that I am today. Which is a nervous wreck, may I say. I have anxiety, I have slight depression, I have all these things, and they're all controllable. Like, I can control it for the most part. I am seeing a therapist now, and or I did see a therapist a while back, and he's the best. He's helped me quite a lot. I am doing mentally a lot better than I did before, and so all those things that I talked about in middle school, like how my parents threw away my drawings and I was doing bad in school and blah blah blah, like I don't let it affect me as much as I did maybe last year. Like last year I was a nervous wreck, and I was blaming everybody for my mistakes, and they did have a effect in me, but it's not completely their fault, and I need to own up to my own mistakes as well. And that's very hard, to own up to your own mistakes, as we may have seen on YouTube lately. Throwing shade. Anyways, so yeah, middle school was fun, but it was also a very hard time for me. I do have some stories from there that I could talk about later, but I just wanted to, give you guys some light on my creative background when it comes to when I was younger, and how I went from, only drawing a little bit to drawing a lot. Like I practiced a lot in middle school, and I got a lot better in high school, and it's all years and tons and tons and tons and tons of practice. You will not get better overnight, trust me. Like, there are even some days now where I will draw something, I will like the way it came out, and then later that day I'll draw something else and it would just completely look like garbage. Like, I don't know how it happened, nor should I let it affect me, because that just means that I need a break. And that, to me, I just take a break. I just walk away from it, go do something else. If you don't have any other hobbies, try to find another hobby that's not drawing, because if you don't have another hobby that's not drawing, you're gonna burn yourself out and you're gonna hate yourself for the longest time. So yeah, this video is kind of all over the place, and I'm sorry for that. I wanted to, ramble and talk about a little bit about my youth, and how I came to be to the point where I am now. Mind you, this is only middle school. In high school, that's a completely different story, and I can ramble about that later. But middle school was definitely the time where I drew so much that I caused so much garbage. I mean, the drawings themselves weren't garbage, but there was a lot of paper used, and digital drawing wasn't a thing until I was maybe in junior year of high school, maybe even sophomore year of high school. That's when I first saw a tablet, I think. But yeah, anyways, that's my ramble for today. I talked a lot, I ranted a lot, I probably made no sense in this video, but if you guys have ever experienced anything like I did, where you're thrown into a new world basically and you have to start over again, just know that you're not alone. You will make friends, and if you don't make friends, that's okay too. You can fill your time with something else. Just make a hobby of something. Like, back then we didn't have phones with games and social media and all that stuff. Like, that's all different now. But if you're struggling in middle school right now or high school, I just want to say that it does get better. And if you're someone who feels the need to run away or hurt yourself or hurt others for any reason, and if you think logically, like, what reason do I have? Like, why do I want to hurt myself? Why do I want to hurt others or push others away? please seek help. There's plenty of help out there. I'll be linking down below some links that will be useful for you or your friends. If you see any friends that are struggling in life right now and they need help and you don't know what to do, reach out to them, because sometimes it's hard to admit that you need help, and you just need someone else to look out for you, and that's very important to me. So yeah. I know this got a little dark in the end, but I just want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to realize and know that you're valid, and someone loves you out there. I love you. You know what? I'm gonna say it right now. Like, if you're listening to this, know that you can always message me, whether it is Tumblr or Twitter. If you have any problems, if you feel down or anything like that, just message me and, we can talk it out. That's fine. I don't mind helping. Because when I needed the help, I got it. And I know that not everybody can get that. And that's very important. So yeah, have a beautiful day, guys. I hope that you're doing well, and if you're not, that's okay too. Cry it out, hug it out, but don't use violence as a need, as a way to, repress those emotions, or exchange those emotions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Have a lovely day, guys, and I will see you all in my next video. Or actually, you won't see me because I am in a computer. You can't see me. Beep beep boop boop. Okay, bye.